And just like that, we are back with Chapter 75 of the Universe According to Mugsy. Today is Wednesday, July 2nd, 2025. I am Mugsy the Creator, and we are coming to you on a different dimensional frequency, trying to reach you on that individual bandwidth level that your consciousness resonates on, so that we can maybe help you create a better reality for you to exist in your own life. And the way that we do that is we examine the current events that are playing out in the world that we see before us and how they are a product of this culture, which we all collectively create. And the only control you have over it is your own individual consciousness. That is what we do here on the Universe According to Mugsy, and it should be very obvious to you folks if you are living in the United States, seeing this energy move and thrust throughout the country. It has changed from what it was just a year ago or 2 years ago or 3 years ago. Different people feel more emboldened to be exactly who they are individually. But what they have failed to do is examine their own consciousness to see what is truly their own and what they are a product of because the environment that they have found themselves in over time. Those things are playing out and manifesting through them. And what am I talking about? What could I possibly be talking about in the current events section that you guys can see so easily in your reality? What I'm talking about is pride, guys. I'm talking about pride. Because it is one of those 7 deadly sins. And right now we are at the July 2nd, right there on the turning point of the 2 most excessive, prideful people in our culture in the United States of America. It's pretty crazy, the left and the right. Because what was last month? Last month was Pride Month for the LGBTQCIA plus whatever other government agencies want to get their hands on what was going on last month. It doesn't mean that we didn't have beautiful celebrations of the individuals that happen to be from that sexual community. I know inside the Village Tavern we had some beautiful transgender dance parties, all right? They were fun. I worked one of them. So I'm not saying that everything that arises from this is negative, okay? I'm happy that people feel comfortable to be themselves, but they seem particularly emboldened to be the very, very deep nature of themselves that maybe some of it shouldn't be expressed or manifest through you in a public setting. Like, for example, all of the men that were in sexual collars wearing very obviously sexual gear, some sort of BDSM, that were at this pride parade, which was at 11 o'clock in the morning, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, coming down Essex Street in Salem, where there are children all over the place. I always have children on my patio at 12 in the afternoon. I always have children in my restaurant. And on this particular day, there were many people that felt emboldened to come out in their sexual gear. I don't know if this is part of that excessive 7 deadly sins coming out, because maybe what you are impressing on the environment that you are around is somewhat offensive to other people's delicate sensibilities in they're trying to raise their children without having to have the conversation about sex and sexual nature. At that particular, maybe we need safe zones. Maybe that's all it is. Maybe we need safe zones in society that we can take children and we can do sex stuff. I feel like we used to have those. I feel like those are things that maybe we need to bring back. Okay, so we used to have strip clubs confined to a certain area of society. Now OnlyFans is everywhere, and people are going out wearing their OnlyFans gears to get dinner. And maybe we should get back to that separation, okay? Just a little bit of that excessive pride. And here we are on July 2nd as people are planning their barbecues, and we get to see just the opposite side of the spectrum here, the excessive side of the right. America's the best country in the world. America's got the biggest military in the world. We got the biggest bombs, back-to-back World War champs. Test us, world, okay? That is the same excessive Bud Light pride that people were so happy to completely throw out the window once they put Dylan Mulvaney on a can, right? As soon as they put Dylan Mulvaney on a can, you guys forgot you ever drank Bud Light and you were mortal enemies with that company, right? It took them a long time before they could find a dummy as brainwashed as all you Americans like Shane Gillis to get out there and start selling it back to the American people, because he never stopped drinking Bud Light. He never stopped drinking. He had faith in the Budweiser company the entire time because he's an American. But what is America any good at anymore? Where does America rank number one in the world? Sometimes it's so hard. Is it most diseases? Oh, is it most people that have handicap parking placards? All right. Is it most people that feel oppressed in some way, shape, or form because of something that's truly residing within themselves? There is so much going on in our society. I don't know what we would be celebrating, all right? Especially after a MAGA movement that did not fall apart. It was sold down the stream, the river, with everything else. All right, guys, our political government isn't here to save us anymore, and it's great that we all feel so connected to each other. This big bandana of America. But it's just the same brainwashing, all right, guys? The hot dogs and the hamburgers, you're brainwashed so that you don't look at what's inside of them, okay? All right? And the same way that those people are brainwashed to go outside wearing fucking choke dog collars is the same way that you're brainwashed to drink that Bud Light and not check out the fluoride content in there. All right? Because that's just sucking time and energy away from you. And I'm not saying we all shouldn't take time to relax and enjoy each other's company. Oh, you like to put it in that man's butt? That's interesting. That makes you different from other people. If you weren't throwing it in my face 99% of the time, maybe you would give me enough time to ask a goddamn question about it. Maybe it is something I would like to expose my children to because I want them to be raised open-minded and liberal and have the flexibility in their mind to feel that they can be anything. But I don't have the ability to reach that conclusion on my own when you are literally throwing a parade down the street in the middle of my town. Now I'm forced to, and I don't like that. You're making me react instead of allowing me the time to come find you if that's what I'm looking for. The same way we are all going to be doing it, blasting our Kid Rock on a porch somewhere, having a hamburger this weekend. I know exactly how it works. The key is finding the balance in each of them, because the 4th of July parties this year are no doubt going to be off the hook, and it was probably harder to find a pride parade to go to. Why is that? That's because the energy in the country has changed. We all didn't know what was going to happen, not but a few months ago. But things changed in November, and certain people felt emboldened to do things before November. And they no longer feel as emboldened to do those. And now after November, different people feel emboldened to be a certain way. And that's a different set of people, just because something happened in November. We have this idea that the culture changed, but the idea is all in our mind. We can all do whatever the hell we want to do whenever we want to do it. Maybe we should spend some time introspectively reflecting on how we want this society to be. Or maybe we shouldn't. Maybe we should be radically ourselves. But what is radically us? Which part of it? Okay? Because as long as I've been alive, we've been paying income taxes. And that's something that we didn't do before 1912. Can I examine my life and go back to that? If I tell other people about it, can we collectively go back and examine that? No, we've just been brainwashed to accept these things. And who is collectively taking power away from us time and time again? Well, who are we continually brainwashed to love? Uncle Sam? Right? Every year we throw a celebration. It's one of the only parties we're allowed to have in this country anymore. We celebrate America. And anybody who's not celebrating America, we shame. What do you mean you don't like America? We'll drop a bomb on your ass. Instead of recognizing that is the same excessive pride that a lot of the country wanted to get rid of but a few months ago. And we're still in the same goddamn place. It's kind of crazy when you really go back and you look at just that specific example of Bud Light and how much of the country decided that they were never going to drink it again because of a decision that a corporation made to project some sort of image. And that was so offensive to the consumers of that product that they decided collectively, cohesively as a unit, that they were no longer going to support that brand. And then within 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, a year, all of a sudden it's being repackaged to them through the UFC in a collaboration with Dana White and through promotional strategies like Shane Gillis. And all of a sudden we're re-brainwashed again. Sales are back up, right? It's all changing. The narrative is changing almost as if it's erasing the past because we failed to reflect on the things that are truly important to us. And that's something that I am thinking about now because, right, as we're at this crux, this time where both of those insane mentalities exist so close to each other, it's also 6 months again into the podcast where I have to reflect on where we have gone and where we are going to direct this conversation. Is the model still working? Is it still helpful to talk about the current events and swim upstream and discuss how that's a product of the culture and how really our own consciousness is our only contribution to that culture? So if we want to change the current events, we have to come right back to our own consciousness and sit with ourselves and be still and maybe be silent and figure out exactly how we want to control our own energy and find how ways we can try and cycle that through life to come out on the other end in the current events. I think that's still been a pretty successful model up to this time. We have 30,000 people that tune in every month to check in on what we're doing, which is absolutely insane. Most of those are new people who have never been exposed to this conversation before. Yet there's still some things that aren't clicking, right? We're not exactly having as many conversations as we've wanted to, and perhaps that is a reflection of the model that made me stop and think, what else could we be doing? Part of the conversations that I'm having offline, we are no longer having online, and that may be something that we need to integrate together so that we can start showing you the progress in real time. Because the people that I am working on privately in my secret consulting business, it's crazy to see the changes that happen in reality. From only a little bit of self-examination and understanding that this brainwashing, where did it come from? It came from a company that was trying to sell something to me. So maybe I've been programmed to react in a certain way. In the new recent revelations that were released in December of 2024 by the CIA Freedom of Information Act, we now have more insight than ever into the MK Ultra and MK Monarch program, with different divisions like Bluebird and Artichoke that were designed to control thought patterns and create secret spies way back in the 1950s, right after World War II. In fact, we had some names of doctors like Joseph Mengele, who you may know as Dr. Green from the MK Ultra program. As it turns out, the United States of America found a lot of value in the Nazi scientists, and they were integrated into our society way back when. So this brainwashing that we talk about happens at every level. You may not be the most important person in the world that got the same Jesuit brainwashing training that Donald J. Trump did. You may have gotten the run-of-the-mill Cheetos and Doritos and Bud Light like I did. All right, but it's all a level of patterning. It's all a level of brainwashing. And once we understand how to control our own thought patterns, we can choose our own reality and our own existence. And nobody has proved that more than my buddy Mikey the Barback. All right, because when I start noticing the things in reality, when I start noticing the changes in his physical appearance, oh my God, I've missed so much. Because the physical is a result of the mental. That's all we're doing when we're working out. We are working on our mental toughness. And I completely noticed all of the mental changes that he has gone through. Even his pattern of speech has changed. He's more self-reflective. He is thinking, making individual decisions about the patterns in his day, what he is going to allow affect him and what he is not going to allow affect him. I am so proud of watching my buddy blossom in front of my eyes, become a more spiritual, connected version of himself by pausing, changing his chemistry, the way that he ate, taking time to think about the breath, and continuing to laugh at himself because he knows nothing. His progress is unbelievable, and we all have access to it. It's so incredibly simple. We just need to take the time to develop the relationship by going back in our own history, time traveling within our own life, and checking in on the moments that just happen to come up in the mind. Because the only time that exists is now. So if those are coming up now, it needs to be resolved now, even if it's from a time in the past. This process takes time. But the result is you learn how to develop a relationship with this inner monologue, this higher dimensional version of yourself that has been there the entire time. You have just been unable to hear them for some reason. Maybe it was sugar. Maybe there's too much sugar in your life. Maybe something that you're eating, your body is reacting to in a different way than it reacts to with everybody else. And it prevents your brain from being able to form these coherent patterns and reach this symmetry and energetic coherence that allows you to choose the dimensional reality that you're going to live in. And I was just listening to my friend Pamela Arlen yesterday as she was introducing herself to a whole new audience on another podcast. And the way that she broke it down was through karma and through the relationships of karma. Each one of the thoughts that come across our mind, if we hold on to it, creates an emotional field. And these emotions eventually become the speech, which is the spell we cast on ourselves. The speech becomes an action, and the action gets fulfilled, and we are tied to the karma of that action. All right? And this is just an introduction into the different ways we can start to think about our own patterning. How many thoughts come across your mind every day? Do you remember in the prologue? We talked about it. 5,000 to 6,000 thoughts, 5,000 to 7,000 thoughts. Maybe you think a lot every day. Most of them are the same. You don't notice because you're stuck inside of this pattern that you follow every day. And every day you get to this crossroads, you have the same thought. But you can never get out of that pattern, so you can never do anything about that thought. It's not till you get outside of that pattern can you address that thought. All right? So we get to choose the thoughts that we hold on to, and each one creates the emotional frequency which we're going to be walking around in all day. If you're angry, you're going to be sending out angry looks all over the place at people. And if you're chilling, everyone's going to want to vibe with you. If everyone doesn't want to vibe with you, you're not chilling. All right? So something else is happening. There's a logic and a coherence to all of this, and we create it through our own thought patterns, our own emotional fields. And then we start talking and we start saying shit. I can't believe how much people confess to me about their own mental state just from what's coming out of their mouth. I know exactly where you're at because all you do is complain all day. All right? So I know you're stuck in a pattern that you can't get out of, and you're pissed about it because all you do is complain and na. You're never going to do anything about it. You're going to learn for yourself the hard way time and time again. Unless you listen to someone who's trying to help you, they may be right in front of your goddamn face. And then you hear other people talk. And the freeness with which their conversation flows, their thought patterns, their ability to not tie themselves to anything and get along with different groups of people who think differently than them. That's always interesting when people get along with people who don't think in the exact same way as them. Because they're not tied to their beliefs. Beliefs are boundaries that prevent us from building the relationships we need, because all of that America energy and that pride energy on each end of the spectrum, people are just looking for connection. That's all they're looking for, and they've been brainwashed to think it only exists in this small place. Because I can only hang out with lesbians if I'm a lesbian. They're the only ones that get me. Or if you don't think America's the best country in the world, you must be a horrible human being. Well, maybe that's someone trying to help America be better. All right? And maybe the LGBTQCIA community needs some of its own self-reflection. Because they seem more divided than ever, even amongst themselves. And that's what we all are. We're all individuals, right? Some of us American, some of us not American, some of us queer, some of us not queer. All of us living together, trying to get through our own reality, which is really the only thing we have control over. So, understand that emotional pattern. Each one of these thoughts coming through. Which one do you want to tie your today to? Because that's going to be the field that you start manifesting through with your speech and the spells that you cast on yourself to take the actions that you're going to have the confidence to take. And then you're going to be tied to that karma if you believe in that sort of thing. I'll explain it in a different way another week, but until next time, guys, enjoy the 4th of July, enjoy the cookouts, enjoy the connection. If you're an LGBTQIA, I hope you had a good last month, and I hope you got to, have a piece of rainbow cake or whatever it is that makes you feel comfortable in being who you are. I love you guys. Take back your consciousness. I'm out.